Later that evening, as I walked home through the cold, I realized my grandfather's lessons had run deeper than just hammer swings and tool sharpening. He taught me about taking pride in what you build, about respecting your neighbors, but also about refusing to let them steamroll you. I built something more than a home. I built roots. I stayed around as an advisor, offering help when needed, but no longer carrying the whole weight on my shoulders. It felt good to finally rest. That spring, I decided to step down from the board after terms. I replaced the old shelves, restored the faded wedding photograph, and hung up his battered blue cap on a nail near the door. I even found a dusty little sign he'd carved decades ago, reading, "If you want respect, give respect." Even a small fire at the far end of the neighborhood. But instead of waiting for someone else to fix it, neighbors came together, organize, and solve problems. Nobody needed to fear petty HOA threats anymore. There were rules, but there was also compassion. I screwed it onto the front of the shed where everyone could see it. The smell of sawdust and machine oil was still there, familiar and comforting. I sat on an old wooden stool and just listened to the quiet. For a long moment, I thought about how easily it all could have gone the other way. If I'd torn down the shed, if I'd given up, if I'd let Alan scare me off my own land. Instead, I'd fought back, and somehow in the process, I'd helped build a stronger, kinder community. He'd moved to a small town about 30 miles away and started his own handyman business. But every once in a while, one stubborn person is enough to make them rethink it. I smiled, thinking about how many storms it had weathered, just like me. That was me. I didn't set out to be the stubborn hero, but I became one anyway, and I was proud of it. Every now and then, he'd call me for advice on a stubborn repair or a tricky customer, and I'd talk him through it. I knew that no matter what happened next, Lakeside Estates would be fine. There would always be someone ready to protect the things worth saving, even if it was just an old shed with a rusty tin roof. It still amazed me how someone could change so completely. They wanted to plant sunflowers near the shed to make it even prettier, they said. We dug up the soil together, laughing and wiping sweat from our brows. I could see a little spark in their eyes, the same spark I'd once had standing next to my grandfather as he taught me to fix things. The guy who once bullied the entire street now fixed people as gutters and fences for a living. With pride and honest work, it was the idea that you could stand up for what matters and pass the courage on to the next generation. It felt like the right moment, leaving behind a solid foundation so someone else could keep growing what we'd started. When I made the announcement, there were hugs and a few teary goodbyes. Murray, who had become more of an ally than an enemy, pulled me aside and said, "I'm glad you came here. Marcus, you reminded us what we're supposed to be doing." After the elections, a young woman named Priya took over as the new HOA president, a smart, fair-minded neighbor who genuinely cared. Alan, I had kept in touch with him in a casual way. On the anniversary of my grandfather's death, I decided to fix up the inside of the shed one last time. People kept stopping by to talk about that sign. Some parents used it to teach their kids. One of the teenagers who helped at the community garden told me it was the best motto he'd ever read. I realized the shed had turned into a landmark of sorts, a place people could look at and remember how Lakeside Estates had changed for the better. Summer brought its share of challenges, a drought, a power outage. One evening, as the sun was setting and the cicadas were humming in the trees, I walked across my yard and unlocked the shed. I suppose the world is full of people who think power gives them the right to crush other people. As dreams, a light breeze rattled the tin roof of the shed, the same rusty roof that had sung in the rain when I was a kid. The next morning, a couple of kids from down the street showed up to help me with a small gardening project. Watching those kids plant flowers next to the shed, I finally understood the real legacy wasn't just the building or the tools or even the land. After they left, I locked the shed, took one last look, and went inside. And in that quiet, fading light, I realized I'd found peace at last.